Thanks everyone for joining this week's CloudExtend Excel for Salesforce weekly workshop. We're going to switch things up a little bit this week, and we're going to focus on the improvements that we've made to the product with this January 2018 release. More improvements than we've ever had. We've completely rewritten the app from the ground up. Specifically, you can now push updates to 25 times more records using the same number of APIs. That's a really big performance improvement. We're sending batches to Salesforce now. When you're pushing updates, we're sending them in batches of 2,000. So a lot more improvement there as far as performance improvement goes. So I'm going to flip my screen over in a second, and I'm going to go over, we'll take a look at the app itself, and we'll look at some of the improvements in real time. So first, we've got a new template builder. One of the things that people asked for before was the ability to have type ahead when you're selecting fields. You always had the ability to do type ahead as you were selecting objects. So for example here, if I was searching for a lead object, I could always type lead and then select it. But what was missing was this next step where you could actually do a type ahead for field names. So now you've got that. So if I want to drop in, say, first name, last name, and description, I can come in here, choose first name, last name, and then say description. One of the other nice features that we have here is that you can now drag and drop these, change the sort order. So if I wanted to move description up to the top, I can just simply click and drag that. And then later, when I subsequently load my table, it would load instead of alphabetical order like the old version, it would load as description, first name, and then last name. What I really, really like about this is you can now quickly identify which fields are in the template and which ones aren't. So before, if you remember, you would have to kind of grab a scroll bar here and then scroll down, and there was a check mark next to the fields that were included. And if you wanted to remove that field, you would have to click an X to get rid of it. Now, if I wanted to remove a field, if I don't need to see city, I added it by mistake, I could just click the little trash icon and then quickly start adding the fields that I want. I could always grab this scroll bar and start scrolling down, but much easier to use type ahead. So I think that's going to be a big improvement for users. I'll show you something else that's really pretty cool. So I'm going to come in here. Let's just add in, we'll go ahead and add city in here. Let's also add in owner. So we add in a lead owner. Now I'm going to click on save and load. With the older version, when I clicked on save and load, you wouldn't even be able to load that template. You would get an error saying you were about to overwrite something. Here, we tell you in advance, hey, you're going to overwrite something and you still want to continue. Just go ahead and say yes. So you no longer have to start clearing out your data first. So once I've got my table loaded, now I'm just going to go ahead and click on download. I'll bring in all the data that happens to live out in this Salesforce account. So 667 records are downloaded. And we talk about tables being more flexible. With the previous version, you weren't able to even move a column around or insert a column. With this version, as I mentioned before, you can change the sort order within the template itself, and it will load in that order. If you want to change the sort order again, you can actually come back into the table itself here and insert a column, drag another one over it if you want to move them around, etc. Now, any changes that you make to the table order here won't be reflected in your template. So next time you load your template, it will load with the predefined sort order, not the sort order of your table here. But let's just show a quick example of how this can come in handy. So maybe I want to look at state as well, and I'm building this to eventually distribute to other users. So I'm going to come over here and I'm going to insert a column. And I'm going to just call this column my state. And here is where we map the information up to Salesforce. So you can see that in column, in row 1, we put this in a white font. And you can see this is lead.lastname, lead.city. So in this case, I want to make this lead.state. So I'm going to just drag my formula from cell F1 over to G1. And I'm going to change city to state. And again, I can change my state to anything. So we're ignoring any values that someone enters in row 2 here. This is to make it easy for your end users to actually see the values and subsequently use. Now, let's just say I want to just highlight a bunch of rows and just click on refresh. And this will go out to Salesforce, and it's actually now bring in the value state for each one of these records as well. And I can make changes now and push those changes back up to Salesforce as well. So if this person wasn't in Ohio but happened to be in Connecticut, I can go ahead and click on update and update just this one row. And we'll see this ID switch over to green here, letting us know that was successfully changed over in Salesforce. So now I'm going to actually load some opportunities and show you. I've got some that are preloaded here. So I'll show you how you can now use the pick list enhancements. So with the previous version, if I wanted to change a lead owner or an account name, I would actually have to come in to the pick list box over here in the add-in, and then I would have to click X to clear out the current selection and then start typing someone's name if I wanted to change it. With the new pick list enhancements, you can just kind of ask you to watch cell H3 as I type in a value. So I want to change this to Justine Berto. I'm just going to type Justine. I'm going to tab off it. You'll see the box turn to a dark gray, and then you'll see it resolve. So it went out, it did a lookup for Justine Berto, and if I make the row a little bit bigger, you'll see we're actually now populating the Salesforce ID underneath the person's name. This just makes it a little bit cleaner, a little bit easier to read. So that's a nice feature that we added for the pick list enhancements. I do also want to show you how you can create multiple objects, multiple records at the same time. So I'm going to come over here. Let me just clear something out here. Okay, so I've got a template for accounts and contacts. So let's take a look at that template. I started with accounts, and then I'm loading in related objects. I'm loading in contacts, and you can see that here. Now we're calling it's contacts : and then the field name. So this is how we know it's now a related object. So in addition to business phone, if I wanted to bring over, say, a contacts job title, I can start typing contacts, and then here I can see all the fields that I want. If I know its title, I can even start typing title and drop that in. So for the purposes of my illustration, I'm not going to use the title. I'll just go ahead and click next, and then I'll click on save. Now I'm going to load this template. And I do want to flip over here and just show you in this Salesforce instance that there are no accounts created this week. And I'll come back over to Excel, and I've got my accounts and contacts with, I just call it raw data over here. So here, I'm just going to copy and paste the account name, phone number, etc. So here's first name or contacts, right? So contacts, first name, last name, phone number. I also want to show you how you can use a formula to pull in data from other worksheets as well. Now, this is nothing new in this version. You could always do this, but I'd like to highlight it. And because this comes over with a text format, we're going to get an error the first time, but I'm going to show you how to resolve that as well. So we've got account name, and I just want to pull in account name from my raw data. I want to pull in Appleseed. So because this is text, it's actually putting in the entire formula name. It's not resolving the formula for us. However, if we just change that format to general and then come up here and then enter, just press enter, you'll see that the entire name gets resolved. And because I set up my table in such a way that I can, the phone number comes after account over here, I can also just drag and drop that formula. So now I've got everything I need to create 1, 2, 3, 4 companies, and then all of the contacts for those companies in Salesforce. Notice that what we're going to do, what the CloudExtend Excel for Salesforce will do, is it'll create a new company or a new account in Salesforce at each break in the name. So all these contacts, Zach and Elizabeth, will live with Appleseeds, Arnold, Betsy, Anthony with Big Company, etc. So let's see it happen in real time. I'm going to go ahead and click on Insert Update. I'll choose all rows, and in less than a second, we should see that 4 new accounts are created, and then we also have contacts are created for each one of those accounts. So here the ID is returned in green, knowing that the account names were created. We're also letting you know what the contacts IDs were, and we're also letting you know which account each one of these contacts are associated with. So you can see here, this is the same account ID that you see over here next to the account name. So let's pull this up over in Salesforce. I'm going to go ahead and click on refresh. And then here you can see the 4 accounts were created. Which one of these has, say, the most contacts? Looks like a tie between Big Company and Jones Farm. So let's look at Big Company and scroll down to the contacts. And here you can see the contacts and their phone numbers were added in. So really, really pretty cool feature. And then just to highlight, just the flexibility of the tables themselves. If I wanted to actually bring in the contact's job title as well, I can come over here and I can say contacts.title. And if I want to update it just for the folks that are at, I think we chose big company before, right? Yep, big company. So let's just update the contact for the folks at big company. This will be president, VP, and director. So now I can push these changes back. I'll go ahead and click on update. Just these 3 selected rows. That shows as being successful. And now if I refresh the entire account and then scroll down to contacts, we should also now see that those titles were included as well. So the point I'm trying to make here is if you're a power user, you can really work very, very fast once you get to know the tool itself. So last, I want to talk about template sharing. This is a very, very highly requested feature. You can now take your template, load it onto the workbook, and then share that workbook with other users. And as long as those other users have a CloudExtend Excel for Salesforce license, they can simply click on the Data tab, load their CloudExtend for Salesforce, and then once they start clicking inside the table, then all the actions in the table will be available to them. They could refresh if they want to get the most recent data from Salesforce. If they've got IDs there that are preloaded, they can click on refresh and then make changes, push it back to Salesforce, etc. So as long as you've got a way of sharing that workbook, and most people do these days, you can share it by email, you can place it in a network shared drive, put it up on OneDrive, etc. Then as soon as someone opens that workbook, and then loads the CloudExtend Excel for Salesforce add-in and signs in, they can now start interacting with their Salesforce data using templates that you've built for them. So really a pretty cool feature. So let me pause now just to see if there's any questions from other folks on the webinar. Okay, so just one question so far. So this question is related to the SOQL statement. So yes, not a lot's changed here, but it's nice to highlight. You can actually use your own SOQL statements. So let's just say I'm going to, let's just load we don't have to load one. We've got a lead template created right here. I can click on create filter, and then you'll see down here that the SOQL statement is being built. You can actually edit this SOQL statement yourself, and then you can click on download, etc. So if you wanted to say, I don't know, let's just say, I'm going to just first click on add a rule because it helps me. I'm not a SOQL expert. Let's just say we're states, right? So states is equal to, and let's just say CA for California. So when I go ahead and click on save, and if I come back in and edit this filter, you'll see that the SOQL statement was created where the state is equal to California. Now I can edit this if I want to. So I can go ahead and say if I want to make this where the state is equal to CT for Connecticut. I can edit that, then I can save it, and then I can run my download. So you can make this really, really, for a power user, there's a lot of control that you have over this. Where I've seen customers use this is where they don't know what the internal or what the Salesforce ID is for the records they want to bring in. So they'll use the where clause. They might say where, let's just say state is in Connecticut, CT, comma, CA, comma, MI, if they want to bring in leads that are in a particular state without having, or a particular set of states, without having to go ahead and create multiple rules up at the top. And then if you don't want to use the your SOQL statements, just go ahead and click on reset, and then you'll be able to start using the our filters again. Okay, let's see, any other questions? Yeah, I thought, so this question is related to price, and I thought that we did push this out there, so apologies if we didn't. Yes, many of you had signed up originally at our initial price of $300 per year. We've actually dropped that price now, so on your renewal, you'll be renewed at $149 per year. Okay, any other questions? Okay, no other questions out there. So everyone, thanks for watching. Please feel free to email me. My email address is chris.corcoran, C-O-R-C-O-R-A-N, @celigo.com. I'm a general manager here. If you have any questions, reach out to myself. I'll make sure myself or a member of my team gets in touch with you. Please let me know how you like this. Thanks for watching.